Venom versus Bane. Really, guys? We're not vetting these matchups anymore? Oh well, tough shit, Kingpin fans. Though I will give them credit for the improved opening graphics. The glitchy effect is a nice touch. Okay, so the analysis sections are alright, the panel editing is certainly a step up compared to last time, though not by much. The only justification I really see for this matchup is that Bane uses Venom. Oh, it actually is the reason people requested it. If you're listening, Deadpool, feel free to decapitate me now. I won't stop you. The fight is where I have the most things to say anyway. Jesus cow-slapping Christ, what the fuck did I watch? No, seriously, what did I watch? The fight's virtually incomprehensible. Using a character that's nearly all black and shoving them in a dreary, shadowy environment where their sprites blend in. I wonder where I've seen that before! But he's supposed to be a stealthy character, you might say, so sneaking around and blending in means he's doing his job well, right? A little too well, if you ask me. I could still make out where Snake and Sam were, even when the characters couldn't. And for the times I didn't know where they were, it was an intentional choice to build up tension. Here, I can barely even make out the characters while they're fighting out in the open. This choreography puts the shaky camera and Cammy versus Sonya... No, Taken 3 to shame! The sprites aren't even that bad, but the presentation and lazy combo smears do them no favors. Like, take this clash for example. Would you associate this kind of speedy fighting with either of the characters? Or how about the way they're written in general? It's pretty widely accepted that Venom just acts like a palette-swapped Carnage in this fight. I won't pretend like I know how he should act from the comics, but there was definitely something off about the portrayal here in comparison to how he was described in the analysis. Or at least what little we had to go off of given how heavily focused they've been on feats so far this season. I guess I can't really complain about Adam Winnick's performance, what with the direction he was probably given. He does a really good job playing Black Air Force Energy Carnage, if that floats your boats.
Big Daddy can punch!
The fuck?
Chris Guerrero as Bane, though, is a different story. He fits the version most folks are familiar with a lot better, managing to be intimidating yet not sound like a brainless monster at the same time. And it's a damn cool voice in general.
So, you fall back on cheap magic tricks, trying to disappear. Yet you don't know how to be truly invisible. Now, I give you permission to die.
Kinda funny how they showed no footage of Christopher Nolan Bane throughout the analysis, and yet they couldn't help themselves from using one of the most ill-fitting quotes of the show. Oh, now you do. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was a privilege on the table, considering you never even set it up. Though, to be fair, it sounded just as corny as when Bruce said it. Oh, rises, you beautiful mess. Better than an ugly mess, at least. It's not just the painful camera movements or wonky environment interaction. It feels like barely anything happened. It took 56 seconds for the fight graphic to show up in this 3-minute and 26-second animation. The opening is meant to show how strong Bane is, which doesn't work because of how weak the prop design is. He might as well have been lifting a box full of Drake's credibility. And it could have been a good chance to build tension if not for Venom's obnoxious laughter. He doesn't really take the fight seriously at any point, which does not help this episode beat the poor matchup allegations. Just because an episode is one-sided doesn't mean it should feel like it in the fight. Where have I seen that before? What's probably worse than any of that is the editing. There are multiple points where it'll just jump to a different pose, leave an in-between motion out, ignore the ongoing choreography altogether, and become downright absurd.
What's happening?
That's a very good question, Bane. I assume you're being possessed by part of the symbiote, which is a great idea for a gruesome death, but not when it's presented as a glorified webcomic and doesn't even stick around for the rest of the scene. Did the symbiote exit him, get absorbed into his bloodstream? Maybe all these questions and more can be answered in the full Rooster Teeth version. You heard me right, folks. This episode has a Snyder cut. All we're missing is an unnecessary 4:3 aspect ratio. That's better. This version of the fight is roughly 90 seconds longer. Oh, so they must have used that extra time for better storytelling, right?
No.
Oh. But I'm sure they included more choreography for a better back and forth.
Ha! No.
Visuals that don't hurt my eyes?
No.
A fitting soundtrack?
No.
Improved dialogue?
No.
A basic grasp on pacing?
No!
Anything good?
No!
I am fucking flabbergasted that this exists. Not even Season 1 has problems this egregious. Barring morality, it's somehow even harder to make out the sprites than before, and believe me when I say that none of those cut 90 seconds were missed. Now it takes a minute and 16 seconds for the fight graphic to appear. 20 seconds longer! Even the simplest of actions take ages to complete. Remember the sudden jump that happened in the middle of Bane's combo? Well, praise the heavens for the extended cut! Now we can finally see Venom just walking away in the middle of it, only to walk right back up to Bane, who was chasing him down in his best JoJo pose. Or how about the spicy blood moment right after that was a little confusing the first time? Turns out an entire 10 seconds was cut that involved a single punch from Bane and Venom giving the most non-reaction I've ever seen. I'm not editing this footage at all, by the way. That's how it was signed, sealed, and delivered. What did we learn from this previously lost footage?
Nothing.
All hail the Rooster Teeth cut! Imagine a world that doesn't have Bane loading and firing a rocket launcher for 20 seconds! I mean, it was such a pivotal moment last time that was so foolishly glossed over. Such an iconic action deserves its due spotlight! At this point, the best way for me to get across how unfathomably broken the pacing is to just play the versions back to back. How is this real? I'm not trying to defend the YouTube cut, but at least it has some semblance of structure. At least the sound design isn't as repetitive and distracting. At least the music choice is fitting and dynamic enough to fit the tone of the moment. At least Bane gets to have sound bites outside of the dialogue so it doesn't feel like he's no-selling everything. Seriously, what happened? I mean no ill will towards Caius at all, but I think we all can agree something's amiss when an already boring fight had to be edited down from a previous state to at least be watchable. Sure, rough cuts are always inevitable in production, but it was published! This is what first members got who wanted to watch the episode early. It'd be one thing if Venom vs. Bane happened in Season 1, but I can't remember anything close to this kind of situation happening before or since. At least not on this sheer scale of retooling. According to the wiki, the first version of this fight was animated in one night, but after the Mewtwo vs. Shadow fiasco, I'm not taking that as fact until we get a proper source. Though the fact that it wouldn't surprise me if that was actually true speaks volumes about this cut. The death is fine, even if the inclusion of Brock added nothing, which applies to both versions. But man, when purely going off of quality as opposed to principle, this might be the worst episode I've covered so far, even disregarding the original cut. Which, for those wondering, I'm not gonna rank. This series is called Every Episode of Death Battle Reviewed in 10 Words or Less, and OG Venom vs. Bane is not an episode by any stretch of the definition. I just would have been remiss not to at least discuss it. But if it helps you sleep at night, 1 out of 10, no question. As for the definitive edition,
2 out of 10.
Could not have said it better myself, Boomstick. At least this episode gave us the incomparable Mog Slothman. When's his spin-off coming?
I've been trapped in here for 3 hours. And now it's time to conquer Earth.
Alpha, who is she? She's scary. Hire her. Clone her 5 times.